On Sunday we were looking at Jeremiah chapter 29, and the big question that we began with was, does your God ever say no to you? I thought of a few examples where it's easy to fall into thinking that the God we believe in actually just agrees with us all of the time, and yet that is very much not the God that we find revealed to us in Jeremiah. The God in Jeremiah calls his people to repent and calls us to do the same. The context of the chapter is that God's judgment has begun on the people, and that there's been this first wave that's gone into exile. And those people who've been carried into exile have some false prophets among them who are saying, don't worry, you're going to be heading back to Jerusalem in no time. And that's why Jeremiah writes this letter. He tells them the very surprising command in verse 5 to build houses and settle down. A really shocking command, but to make them realise that actually God's judgment was going to have to come, and there was going to have to be 70 years before they returned to the land. And really the key verse that I drew out was verse 8. So God's speaking about these false prophets who say that the people are going to be going back in no time, that God doesn't mind about their sin. God says this, verse 8, "This is what the Lord Almighty, the God of Israel says, do not let the prophets and diviners among you deceive you. Do not listen to the dreams you encourage them to have. They are prophesying lies to you in my name. I have not sent them, declares the Lord." So the challenge is whether we are willing to listen to God's no to us. Knowing that it's a gracious no, not the no of a tyrant, but the no of a parent who loves their children and says, no, don't run into the road, don't go into danger. But are we willing to hear that no from God, that rebuke from him? It'd be good to think in your groups about what that might look like for you, how we can start to discern when people are presenting a different God to us that just agrees with us all the time, how we can discern that by reading the scriptures, by talking to each other, but also whether there are times that we might respond to God saying no to us, and are we going to repent when God calls us to? But we ended by the wonderful encouragement that Jesus Christ actually took the curses that this chapter talks about in order that we might have the wonderful blessing of verses 11 onwards, where God says, "I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. Then you will call on me and come and pray to me, and I will listen to you. You will seek me and find me when you seek me with all your heart. I will be found by you, declares the Lord, and I will bring you back from captivity."